So you ready, Mayor? Okay, the mayor's called the meeting to order. On the roll call, Councilmember Aloya.
Present.
Councilmember Calandrillo.
Here.
Councilmember Aaron Delaney. Deputy Mayor Joseph Delaney. Mayor Rigoloso. Okay, that's 4 ayes and 1 absent, which means a quorum is present for this regular meeting of the Garfield City Council, which is being held today, which is Tuesday, March 12th, 2019. This regular meeting is being held in accordance with provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act. Adequate notice has been provided by mail, facsimile, and email to the official city newspapers and to other interested parties, and by posting the meeting notice on the bulletin boards in City Hall. If everyone please rise, we'd like to begin with the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a short prayer. Heavenly Father and Almighty God, during this time of year when we normally commemorate St. Patrick's Day, we'd like to offer an Irish blessing. May the road rise to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm on your face, the rain fall softly on your fields, and until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand.
Amen. Amen.
At this time, is there a motion to approve the reports of the cabinet as presented orally and in writing during the work session held earlier this evening?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Joseph Delaney, seconded by Councilmember Aloya. On the roll call, Councilmember Aloya.
Aye.
Councilmember Calandrillo.
Aye.
Councilmember Aaron Delaney. Deputy Mayor Joseph Delaney.
Aye.
Mayor Rigoloso.
Aye.
Okay, we're at 4 ayes, 1 absent. Resolutions, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Resolutions listed on the agenda, number 69 through number 74, have signatures of all the council members present. So if there's no objection, I will take one roll call vote on all those resolutions. On the roll call, Councilmember Aloya.
Aye.
Councilmember Calandrillo.
Aye.
Councilmember Aaron Delaney. Deputy Mayor Joseph Delaney.
Aye.
Mayor Rigoloso.
Aye.
Okay, we have 4 ayes, 1 abstention. Number 75 is held. If we have 4 signatures on resolutions number 76 and number 77, so if there's no objection, I will take one roll call vote on those resolutions. On the roll call, Councilmember Aloya.
Aye.
Councilmember Calandrillo.
Aye.
Councilmember Aaron Delaney. Deputy Mayor Joseph Delaney.
Aye.
Mayor Rigoloso.
Aye.
Okay, we have 4 ayes, 1 absent. Okay, right. Would it be best if you described it real quick? Is this what he-
Okay, the next resolution, resolution number 78, authorizes a matching grant award for the municipal park project entitled Garfield Riverwalk Expansion. This resolution is to support a 2017 funding round, which we received from the County of Bergen. This resolution is needed in order for us to sign the contract to receive $325,000 from the Bergen County Open Space Trust Fund. This application was made specifically for improvements, continued expansion of the Riverfront Park.
And the resolution is signed by council members Joseph Delaney and Rigoloso. On the roll call, Councilmember Aloya.
Aye.
Councilmember Calandrillo.
Aye.
Councilmember Aaron Delaney. Deputy Mayor Joseph Delaney.
Aye.
Mayor Rigoloso.
Aye.
Okay, we have 4 ayes, 1 absent. Resolutions number 79, 2 and including number 82, have 4 signatures on them, signatures of all the council members present. So if there's no objection, I will take one roll call vote on those resolutions. On the roll call, Councilmember Aloya.
Aye.
Councilmember Calandrillo.
Aye.
Councilmember Aaron Delaney. Deputy Mayor Joseph Delaney.
Aye.
Mayor Rigoloso.
Aye.
Okay, we have 4 ayes, 1 absent on those resolutions.
83 withheld.
Okay, 83 we held. The last resolution is a transfer of $39,000 between various accounts, signed by all the council members present. On the roll call, Councilmember Aloya.
Aye.
Councilmember Calandrillo.
Aye.
Councilmember Aaron Delaney. Deputy Mayor Joseph Delaney.
Aye.
Mayor Rigoloso.
Aye.
Okay, we have 4 ayes, 1 absent on those resolutions. Bills and claims, Mr. Mayor?
Please.
Okay, resolved by the City Council of the City of Garfield that the following bills in the current fund reserve totaling $15,334.91 and the current fund totaling $159,154.10, and the water fund totaling $6,444.84, and the general capital fund totaling $33,018.05, and the water capital fund totaling $142,100 per attached computer list, be ordered paid, and the proper officers are hereby authorized to issue checks for same, provided that there are funds in the respective appropriations. Be it further resolved that the action of the mayor, city clerk, and city treasurer in issuing checks and payment on the ratification list, which includes 17 items prior to the meeting, be ratified. Bills and claims resolution is signed by all the council members present. On the roll call, Councilmember Aloya.
Aye.
Councilmember Calendrillo.
Aye.
Councilmember Aaron Delaney. Deputy Mayor Joseph Delaney.
Aye.
Mayor Rigoloso.
Aye.
Okay, we have 4 ayes, 1 absent. Bills and claims are approved. Ordinances, Mr. Mayor.
Please.
Okay, the following entitled ordinance was introduced at a meeting held February the 26th, 2019. It was duly published. Copy was posted on the bulletin board in City Hall. Copies were made available to the general public, and having complied with the law, this ordinance was not read in full, and the city council can now proceed with the public hearing and final passage. An ordinance to amend Chapter 41 of the City Code of the City of Garfield entitled Parking Authority, specifically Chapter 41-5 entitled Parking Enforcement Officer. So we need public.
On this ordinance and this ordinance only, would anybody like to come up and speak? I see no hands. Drew?
Okay, on second reading, Councilmember Aloya.
Aye.
Councilmember Calendrillo.
Aye.
Councilmember Aaron Delaney. Deputy Mayor Joseph Delaney.
Aye.
Mayor Rigoloso.
Aye.
Okay, we have 4 ayes, 1 absent. The ordinance is adopted. The following entitled ordinance was introduced at a meeting held on February 26, 2019. It was duly published. Copies were posted on the bulletin board in City Hall. Copies were made available to the general public, and having complied with the law, this ordinance was not read in full, and the city council can now proceed with the public hearing and final passage. An ordinance to fix the salary, wages, and compensation of the parking enforcement officer for the city of Garfield.
On this ordinance and this ordinance only, would anybody like to come up and speak? I see no hands. Drew?
Okay, on second reading, Councilmember Aloya.
Aye.
Councilmember Calendrillo.
Aye.
Councilmember Aaron Delaney. Deputy Mayor Joseph Delaney.
Aye.
Mayor Rigoloso.
Aye.
Okay, we have 4 ayes, 1 absent. That ordinance is adopted. The following entitled ordinance was introduced at a meeting held on February the 26th, 2019. It was duly published. A copy was posted on the bulletin boards in City Hall. Copies were made available to the general public, and having complied with the law, this ordinance was not read in full, and the city council can now proceed with the public hearing and final passage. Salary ordinance for the years 2018-2022, governing employees subject to the collective bargaining agreement between the City of Garfield and Teamsters Local Union Number 469.
On this ordinance and this ordinance only, would anybody like to come up? I see no hands. Drew?
Okay, on second reading, Councilmember Aloya.
Aye.
Councilmember Calendrillo.
Aye.
Councilmember Aaron Delaney. Deputy Mayor Joseph Delaney.
Aye.
Mayor Rigoloso.
Aye.
Okay, we have 4 ayes and 1 absent. The ordinance is adopted. I need these. Okay. 329. Okay, got it. The following entitled ordinance was introduced at a meeting held on February 26, 2019. It was duly published. Copy was posted on the bulletin board in City Hall. Copies were made available to the general public, and having complied with the law, this ordinance was not read in full, and the city council can now proceed with the public hearing and final passage. An ordinance to amend Chapter 329 of the City Code of the City of Garfield entitled Vehicle Sales Businesses, specifically Chapter 329-12 entitled Parking Regulations.
Drew, can you read the entire ordinance?
Sure. Whereas the governing body of Garfield believes it is in the best interest of the city of Garfield to amend Chapter 329 of the City Code of the City of Garfield. Be it ordained by the mayor and city council of Garfield, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, as follows. Section 1, Chapter 329 of the City Code of the City of Garfield entitled Parking Restrictions is hereby amended as follows. Chapter 329-12 Parking Restrictions. B, the location of each business shall partition the lot into a specified number of parking spaces for customer vehicles no smaller than 9 feet by 18 feet, and shall provide sufficient aisle space to permit access to the premises by emergency vehicles. All vehicles present on the lot must be parked in a designated space. At no time shall a motor vehicle awaiting to be sold be parked on any public roadway or city-owned property. Each business shall submit to the building department within 60 days of the passage of this ordinance a detailed parking diagram of its premises showing compliance with this chapter. Section 2, all ordinances of the city of Garfield which are inconsistent with the provisions of this ordinance are hereby repealed to the extent of such inconsistency. Section 3, if any section, subsection, clause, or phrase of this ordinance is for any reason held to be unconstitutional or invalid by any court or competent jurisdiction, such decision shall not affect the remaining portion of this ordinance. Section 4, all other provisions of Chapter 329 of the Code of the City of Garfield are not further amended and remain in full force and effect. Section 5, this ordinance may be renumbered for purposes of codification. The ordinance shall take effect immediately upon final passage.
On this ordinance and this ordinance only, would anybody like to come up and speak? Ma'am? Please state your name, address. You'll have 3 minutes, right at the mic. Everybody will have 3 minutes, and your questions will be answered at the end of our meeting.
Marlo Hittman, I'm counsel for MJ Traders. My office address is 354 Eisenhower Parkway, Plaza 1, Livingston, New Jersey, 07039. In reviewing the ordinance, the first thing that struck me is that the State of New Jersey Motor Vehicle Commission has extensive regulations governing used car dealers and the specifics of their premises. One of the things that they cover is spacing of vehicles and requirements of space per car, an area that appears to have been preempted by the State of New Jersey. Has Corporation Counsel reviewed this ordinance to verify that it is not in violation of an area that the State of New Jersey has preempted?
We'll answer all the questions at the end.
Okay. Next question. When you talk about zoning, and when you talk about lines and fire lanes and things like that, those are typically zoning and planning functions. It appears that this ordinance is attempting to use the police power of the municipality to usurp the requirements of how zoning and planning laws are created. Has the Corporation Counsel reviewed this proposed ordinance for its interaction with zoning and planning law, and particularly the master plan, and also with respect to whether the changes that you're trying to make are precluded by laws governing pre-existing non-conforming use? And this is the type of thing that would have and should have been addressed by the planning board prior to issuing a certificate of occupancy for each business involved. Is this something that the planning board needs to review, determine whether or not it's in its jurisdiction? Corporation Counsel needs to review whether it needs to be included in the master plan, and it is not properly within the ordinance police power of the city council. That is the next question that I have. With respect to the use of the public roadway and parking cars that are awaiting for sale, have you reviewed the statutes and rules by the State of New Jersey as to what cars are and are not permitted to be on the public roadway? Specifically, cars with licensed dealer plates have been deemed to be permitted to be on the public roadway by the State of New Jersey, and have you looked at the preemption of that issue? Some of the businesses that you're addressing are on county roads in which parking ordinances are, to the extent that they are county roads, is to have some sort of coextensive regulation. Have you reviewed whether any of your regulation is violative of the superior rights, or at least the coextensive rights of the county? And that's just my, preliminary review of the questions that I have since my client asked me a couple of days ago to look at the ordinance, but I have not been in a position, obviously, to give you an opinion letter, and since these are all serious issues relating to the jurisdiction and authority of the council to pass an ordinance covering these topics, I would ask that it be tabled until the Corporation Council gives an opinion on all of those cases.
Thank you. MJ Traders.
You know, by custom.
Okay. Is there anyone else who would like to come up and speak? Please come on up. Did you get over there? Did you get over there? I did. Okay. He got it.
Frank Toscano, 94 Naples Place, Garfield, New Jersey. I had requested an open public records request. Basically, I requested for the past 6 months, any violations that had anything to do with any automotive repair, auto sales, any type of business that we've been visiting this back and forth over, for months and months. In the past 6 months, since this is apparently a big problem, big deal, occupying everybody's time, in the past 6 months, there has been
This ordinance
17
deals with the
calls
sales
made
of
to the
cars.
Garfield police. 17 calls does not seem that like it's a big, huge issue. Out of those 17, two separate businesses were blocking a sidewalk for a very temporary time, maybe getting a delivery or getting a tow truck dropped off.
Toscano.
4 calls were to one business, which is the 720 River Road, which we all have talked about, that is open late at night. 2 of those phone calls, he was working well within a reasonable time. One was 6:30 at night, one was at 8:30 at night. The other 2 were late. In one of them, the police officer addressed that you're in violation because it was late at night. That business should have been issued a ticket at some point. They were there 4 times. They were given warnings, but no ticket was issued. I'm not trying to put this on the Garfield police, but if they don't issue tickets, the guy's not gonna learn his lesson. So now, because he doesn't learn his lesson, we're all paying the price. And then the rest of the calls, 6 of them were residential.
Frank, if I could just stop you for a minute. We're having a hearing right now just on the ordinance with regards
It has
to,
to do with parking.
no, this ordinance has nothing to do, ordinance has to do with the car sales.
Okay, but I'm gonna finish, okay, so you try not to interrupt me again. Okay, 6 of them were residential cars blocking businesses, and 5 of them had nothing to do with businesses whatsoever. And I'm gonna ask that you, Mr. Delaney, recuse yourself from any regulations regarding parking, given your history with the county on your own parking discretions. Whether or not you want to take this seriously or not, that's totally up to you, but I personally, if there's one person in this entire building who should not be telling me and other business people what we shouldn't have and shouldn't have in our businesses parked there, should be Mr. Delaney. But I just want to make that public knowledge that, I feel he should recuse himself because of his past history with his own situations.
Thank you. Okay, 3 minutes. Anybody else would like to come up and speak? On this ordinance? I see no hands.
All right, Drew, before we take the vote, I'd like to make a motion to table it to answer council's questions before we take a vote on this. I made a motion to table.
Okay, there's a motion by Councilmember Joseph Delaney,
I'll second it.
seconded by Mayor Rigoloso. On the roll call to table,
Before we take a vote, Mayor, our city attorney, do you have any answers to the questions that were presented?
I respect council's comments. I think they're all good questions. Some of them we've looked at, some of them I think we should go back and look at and, just to make sure for, caution, before we enact this, ordinance. And I think it's the tabling is a proper motion at this time. I would, not that I vote, but I would support that action be taken.
Okay, thank you. All right, Drew.
Okay, on the roll call to table, Councilmember Aloya,
No.
Councilmember Calandrillo,
No.
Councilmember Aaron Delaney, Deputy Mayor Joseph Delaney,
Aye.
Mayor Rigoloso.
Aye.
Okay, we have 2 ayes, 2 nays, and an absent. The motion fails. Proceed with final passage vote.
Proceed.
Okay. On second reading, final adoption, Councilmember Aloya,
Until further review, no.
Councilmember Calandrillo,
No.
Councilmember Aaron Delaney, Deputy Mayor Joseph Delaney.
And I can't understand, because we made a motion to table it, which means it gives us time to further review it, but we voted that down. The reason why this ordinance came up in the first place, because I was instructed at a quality of life meeting by our police chief, the police department, Garfield DPW superintendent, Garfield DPW members, property maintenance, fire officials and fire inspectors to enact an ordinance similar to this. Now, the actual request that they asked us to do, we took numerous out, such as lining the parking lot, such as each parking lot being paved. So don't think that we're here just to pass time, to pick on anybody, because we're not. We're instructed by our city leaders, by our city officials, that we have to do something with regard to this. And we're doing the least amount possible, just to correct a situation that they feel needs correction. Now, I agree. I like to take I'd like to take some of your questions and ask our counselor about it. But with that, I mean, right now that it's on the table to be voted on, I vote aye.
Mayor Rigoloso.
I wish that we could get the questions answered that council asked. They seem to be important questions. There were some that council brought up that, maybe we didn't look into with the planning board and stuff like that. And I wish those questions, the tabling would have had us to answer these questions. So I'm going to vote aye.
Okay, we have 2 ayes, 2 nays, and an absent. The ordinance is defeated. The following entitled ordinance was introduced at a meeting held on.
No, I'm sorry. We're going to move on to the next ordinance. Thank you. Go ahead.
The following entitled ordinance was introduced at a meeting held on February 26, 2019. Was duly published. Copy was posted on the bulletin boards in City Hall. Copies were made available to the general public, and having complied with the law, this ordinance was not read in full, and the City Council can now proceed with the public hearing and final passage. An ordinance of the City of Garfield creating a new chapter 214 of the Garfield City Code to be entitled Motor Vehicle Repair Shops.
On this ordinance and this ordinance
Mr.
only.
Mayor, can we have that ordinance read, please?
Yeah, please.
Okay, whereas the governing body of Garfield believes it is in the best interest of the City of Garfield to adopt regulations relating to the operation of motor vehicle repair shops, be it ordained by the Mayor and City Council of Garfield, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey as follows. Section 1, Chapter 214 of the City Code of the City of Garfield, entitled Motor Vehicle Repair Shops, is hereby added as follows. Chapter 214, Motor Vehicle Repair Shops. Chapter 214-1, Definitions. As used in this chapter, the following terms shall have the meaning indicated. Motor vehicle, an automobile, truck, motorcycle, or any other trackless, self-propelled vehicle designed primarily to transport persons or property over public streets and highways. Motor vehicle repair shop, any place, indoors or outdoors, where motor vehicles are repaired for a fee or where the work of repairing motor vehicles is carried on as an incident to 1, the business of selling new or used motor vehicles, 2, new or used motor vehicle parts, Or 3, any other traffic in motor vehicles or their parts or equipment. Person, any person, firm, partnership, association, corporation, or organization of any kind. Repair work on motor vehicles, any work done on the premises of a motor vehicle repair shop which requires direct or indirect physical contact with a motor vehicle or any part of a motor vehicle to fix or mend said vehicle. Chapter 214-2, General Operating Requirements. A, the permitted hours of operation for motor vehicle repair shops shall be Monday to Saturday from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m. Motor vehicle repair shops shall be closed on Sunday. B, the location of each motor vehicle repair shop shall partition the lot into a specified number of parking spaces for customer vehicles, no smaller than 9 feet by 18 feet, and shall provide sufficient aisle space to permit access to the premises by emergency vehicles. All spaces shall be used only for storage of vehicles to be repaired or for employee and customer parking. All vehicles present on the lot must be parked in a designated space. At no time shall a motor vehicle awaiting to be repaired be parked on any public roadway or city-owned property. Motor vehicle repair shops shall submit to the building department within 60 days of the passage of this ordinance a detailed parking diagram of its premises showing compliance with this chapter. C, there shall be at all times be a 1-foot buffer zone between the designated parking spaces and the adjacent sidewalk, property line, and/or public walkway. D, no partially dismantled, non-operable, or wrecked motor vehicle shall be stored or dismantled on the repair shop premises except as a direct, immediate, and necessary incident to its repair. Chapter 214-2, Maintenance of Business Premises. A, the premises of each motor vehicle repair shop shall be maintained in a clean and sanitary manner and shall comply with all applicable health, safety, and sanitation codes and standards promulgated by the City of Garfield. B, all parts and materials incidental to the operation of said repair shop shall be stored in a designated area and concealed from public view. C, no overgrown vegetation and/or refuse shall be allowed to accumulate on the premises. Chapter 214-3, Enforcement. This article shall be enforceable by representatives of the City of Garfield Police Department, Building Department, Fire Prevention, Property Maintenance, and the Health Department. Chapter 214-4, Violations and Penalties. For a violation thereof, the court shall impose one or more of the following: a fine not to exceed $2,000, imprisonment for a term not to exceed 90 days, and/or a period of community service not exceeding 90 days for each violation thereof. Section 2, all ordinances of the City of Garfield which are inconsistent with the provisions of this ordinance are hereby repealed to the extent of such inconsistency. Section 3, if any section, subsection, clause, or phrase of this ordinance is for any reason held to be unconstitutional or invalid by any court of competent jurisdiction, such decision shall not affect the remaining portion of this ordinance. The ordinance shall take effect immediately upon final passage.
On this ordinance only, anybody like to come up and speak? I see no hands.
Okay, on the roll call, Councilmember Aloya.
No.
Wait.
Yeah, go ahead.
Before we take a roll call, once again, I'd like to make a motion to table this.
Okay, there's a motion by Councilmember Joseph Delaney,
I'll second it.
seconded by Mayor Rigoloso to lay the ordinance on the table. On the roll call to table the ordinance, Councilmember Aloya.
No.
Councilmember Calendrillo.
Abstain.
Councilmember Aaron Delaney. Deputy Mayor Joseph
Aye.
Delaney. Mayor Rigoloso.
Aye.
Okay, we have 2 ayes, 1 nay, 1 abstention, 1 absent. The motion fails.
Roll call.
Roll call on adoption?
Yes.
Okay, on a second reading, Councilmember Aloya.
No.
Councilmember Calendrillo.
Abstain.
Councilmember Aaron Delaney. Deputy Mayor Joseph Delaney.
All right, once again, the reason why this ordinance is brought up, and the only reason is because of the quality of life meeting that I had with the police chief, superintendent of DPW, fire officials, property maintenance is because the problem that we're having with repair shops. All right, people are calling up and complaining, people are complaining to the police, people are complaining to me about certain things such as the hours of operation where, and these repair shops are right next to houses. So think if anybody here is living in a house and next door to them is a repair shop and 11:30 at night, they're working on their cars. It isn't fair. I'm not here to represent, I'm not here to kick any business out of town, but I'm here to represent the 36,000 people in the city of Garfield. Some of them living right next to repair shops that have to listen to cars being worked on 11:30 at night, that have to see cars parked on the sidewalk with their front bumper for months at a time. Months at a time. You could go down Midland Ave and see this. This is nothing new. All right, you could see a car on a lift on Lanza Ave, on a lift in the outside yard, all right, being worked on all weekend. Nobody there, but this car is 20 feet up in the air with people walking by. A danger to any person, God forbid something falls off that car. That car is on a lift on the outside parking lot. And I'm not supposed to do anything? I'm supposed to vote no? I can't do that. I'm sorry, there has to be restrictions. If I owned a business, which my father used to own a business in the city, we had all respect for our neighbors. We never left a car or truck up on a lift for days at a time. I never worked on a Sunday morning. I never worked past 11:30 at night. How could you live next door to a resident and work on your car 11:30 at night and think that's okay with the resident? So all we're doing is putting time limits on it and the amount of cars and to clean up. There's so many cars on a lot that they have the dumpster out on the street. They can't even put the dumpster in the back by the building because they can't get the dumpster back there because there's too many cars. So don't tell me I'm picking on businesses or I'm doing something wrong. Don't make me feel that way because I'm not. I'm just looking out for the interests of our citizens in the town that live here in town, that have to live next to these properties. It's not right to them. I vote aye.
Mayor Rigoloso.
The quality of life is important in Garfield and for our residents. This ordinance, we tweaked it from other towns similar to ours. This is an ordinance that's in neighboring towns all around us, towns that have the same demographic as ours, and we tweaked it to meet our needs. I do find it important that there's a time limit. There are these shops, these repair shops that are opened up on Sunday, early in the morning, working till late in the evening. They're parking it on the sidewalk where residents have to walk onto the street. And I'm talking about Midland Ave specifically, where they got to walk onto the street just to get back onto the sidewalk because you got to walk around. Where I see some of our seniors who are driving down the street, they got to itch their way onto Midland Ave because they can't see because there's a big box truck or a tow truck sitting on the sidewalk at the corner about to cause accidents. And when you ask them to move, you get attitude. For the repair shops that follow the rules and follow the guidelines, these are the shops that ruin it for everybody. That brings us into these meetings where you have to have a quality of life meeting. And because the police get called, we get phone calls, and you have to do something about it. And we have to do something about it. It's not right that, the residents have to hear someone working early in the morning or late in the evening, or cars or residents walking around these shops, gingerly. It's just not right. And again, when we were looking into this ordinance, we looked at other municipalities, and they have the same type of ordinance, give or take a few of them, and we tweaked it to meet our needs for our residents. I vote aye.
Okay, we have 2 ayes, 1 nay, 1 abstention, 1 absent. The ordinance is defeated. And that concludes our written items for voting at this time. Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council.
All right. At this time, open it up for citizens and taxpayers. Please remember you have 3 minutes. State your name and your address. Who would like to come up and speak? Come on up.
Kev, help her out, Kev.
My name is Paula. I am currently going through Fairlawn PD and Fairlawn VFW in a Hero parking.
Could I have your last name and address, please?
Last name is Shuck. My address is 14 Louise Street.
14?
Louise Street.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. I brought it up to Lieutenant Marsh to see if we could start that here too. I think that it would be wonderful to have a Hero parking.
I'm not familiar with this, so maybe you could help out the council and whoever else is in the audience.
Basically, it's a parking space for not only veterans, because we have veterans parking spaces. I am an Army wife. My husband served for 17 years, so it's something big that I want to do. And I don't want to just do it for the veterans. I want to do it for you guys, the heroes that serve every day.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else would like to come up?
Hi, my name is Veronica Schroeder, on 8 Commerce Street. This ordinance you're passing about the parking stickers, that you're not gonna do that we have to register online. My rent is included, I have to pay for my driveway, so I don't need it for me. My son is serving, as a lot of you know, in the Army. He's coming home for 29 days next month, before he's deploying to Germany for 3 years. I would like for my son not have to pay to park for 29 days. We only need it from April 22nd till May 17th. So I'm hoping that he could be excluded, being that he is currently serving in the military, and it's only a couple of weeks.
Thank you.
You'll exclude him from that?
We're going to discuss it. Thank you. Anyone else would like to come and speak?
Hi, Lisa Logan, 216 Malcolm Avenue. Okay, so the parking situation. To pay $5 a day for someone to come visit my house for a week, it's a bit extreme. I understand that we're paying for the cars being parked on the street, even though people in Garfield pay $1,700 for rent every month, or pay whatever they pay, $1,500 of rent a month, and they're paying $10 a day, $10 every 2 years to park on the street. Now, if I have a significant other that does not live in Garfield, and he drives to my house, and he stays for a week, or a friend that comes and stays for a week, even though we only get a week interval of someone coming to stay at that address, and we have to pay $5 a day, that's a little bit extreme, especially with our town being not the highest paid. We don't have the highest paid citizens in our town. So to take $5 out of somebody's pocket every single day for them to have visitors or family members to come visit their house is a little ridiculous. And not only that, it's not fair to the taxpayers or whoever to even have to pay to park on the street. I understand you guys are trying to take away the legal apartments or trying to buckle down on certain things, but that's a little ridiculous to me. And we also need to find some place where you could put a kiosk for these citizens, we talk about our citizens that are 90 and they still got their driver and they're driving. Now they have to go to a computer and register their car. Good luck. Because I don't know no 95-year-old that's gonna go sit on a computer and upload documents to register their car. So either there needs to be a kiosk where they could go certain times a day, that somebody could sit there and help them, or that needs to be obsolete. We have to think about everybody in the situation, not just, everybody doesn't have family that can go and their family members or their grandchildren can go register their car and put their documents online and they know how to work the computer. Everybody doesn't have that, unfortunately. So we need to tweak that a little more. We need to think about what we're doing to our citizens of Garfield. Because that's, like I said, that's not fair. now it feels like it's more of a moneymaker and not like you're trying to buckle down on certain situations that's going on in Garfield. Now it's becoming like a moneymaker. And it's not fair because everybody doesn't have driveways. Maybe you should put it to where if this address has a driveway and they have cars, they need to park in their driveway. And maybe they need to pay $10 a day for their car to park on the street. I understand we have a big population in Garfield, but at the end of the day, you're moving people out of Garfield because of the certain things that's been taking place as far as the parking situation.
Lisa, I'm sorry.
It's all over, I know you said
Okay.
3 minutes. It's all over the parents' page because I run that, as everybody knows, that this parking, and then they having problems registering their cars. So that needs to be tabled too, until you guys tweak it a little better.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to come up and speak?
Yes, I will. Robert Glazer, 145 Lincoln Place, Garfield. I'm glad these folks came up, because it's obvious you put a burden on the community. Your own people you're supposed to be representing. I'd like to know, what is the reason for parking permits in the first place? Someone had told me it had something to do with illegal apartments. Apparently, it's been like, I don't know how many years we've been getting permits, but obviously it's not working because you're going a step further. You're doubling down. And you're costing people money that you're not sure if they could even afford it. I don't think it's a good job to vote this in. I don't think maybe you could even change it. You might even went too far with it. I don't know. And I feel my words are probably just going to go nowhere, but at least I'm expressing myself. If you can explain why you did it, when I know you can't talk now, explain to me why you did it, and what does this money have to do with anything? You didn't charge anything for, I don't know if it's 7 years, I don't know how long these permits have been in. All of a sudden, you're looking to nickel and dime the public. Maybe you spent money you didn't have, you have to make up for it. I don't know. But if you could explain why the fee came in. I understand you're hiring a couple of people to ride around town. You're buying a couple of smart cars. I don't know if this is true, but this is something I heard. So you're doubling down on something that didn't work. If you initially wanted to catch illegal apartments, and what are you doing punishing? If 90% of the people in Garfield don't have an illegal apartment, you're going to punish everybody for 10% of the people that are not doing the right thing? It's like if you're in 4th grade and 2 kids do something wrong, and the teacher says, you're all staying until 5 o'clock today because nobody's telling you what you did. You're punishing innocent people. And explain to me the money, and explain to me why this parking thing came up in the first place. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to come up and speak?
My name is Scott Steidel, and I'm on 94 Chestnut Street. I want to know how you figure out giving 5 passes for cars on a 50-foot lot with one parking space. So where's the other 4 cars are supposed to go? And now you're saying commercial vehicles too? I have 1 parking spot in front of my house. I'm supposed to park 4 cars there. That's not right. I think you need an ordinance to have a driveway. Half of the cars got to park in the driveway. I have a neighbor that has 7 cars, 1 spot. And as soon as we get out of our spot, he pulls right in. Something's not right. You need a parking garage, 70s apartment building. Because you can't, I heard that commercial vehicles now, that's gonna take 2 spots. So where's these people gonna park? I have an 85-year-old tenant. I have to block the spot so he can park. I gotta run home early from work. Something's gotta be done.
I'm Doris at 94 Chestnut Street. I addressed this problem last year. Parking's been a problem in town. I blame the town for creating the parking situation. I don't know how by the allowing commercial vehicles, I want to know when you adopted Garfield and changed the zoning to allow all commercial vehicles, one per household. I know I live in a residential area, it's not commercial. So if everyone in on my block has a commercial vehicle, they're all gonna be parked on the street? That lowers the value of my home. Let alone, I brought it last year. I don't know what the zoning ordinance is in town, but I was here when you allowed the extra apartments to be built, expanded the house, and my words then were, where are they gonna park? You have across the street that I drove by, across from the high school, there's another two-family house. There's one parking spot on that lot for a two-family house. There's no parking along the high school. Where are those cars gonna be parked? And getting back to our street, what I would suggest is if we're moving forward with the badges, have the daily badge where you need to have that during the day as well. Because what's happening is people have all their businesses, there's commercial trucks that are parked there now. We have the vehicles that are parked in the driveways that haven't been moved, okay? But then I was told, if you go to the police station, then they told me I have to go to the town. So you two are having an argument on whose division it is. There's just not enough cars. And like he said, the commercial vehicles, there's absent landlords, and maybe if you enforce that you have these driveways, allow your tenants to park there. 7 cars, there's 4 cars that can park in the driveway. That would ease up the parking situation. But the homeowners that don't live there, the owners of these buildings, they don't want their tenants to park there. Maybe because they have a business running out of there, I don't know. But I can name them on my block who does not allow their tenants to park in their driveway. When Chestnut Street was redone, I expanded my driveway so I could fit my cars there. I can't do that now. My life is revolving around the parking spot in front of the house that I don't have to go up and around the block to park my car at nighttime. And I just don't think that's fair. And getting back to the parking registering, I called 3 times. I logged in my car, I paid for it. I called last Monday, I called Friday, and I called Monday. We'll call you back, we'll call you back. It doesn't allow me to add 2 additional vehicles. I'm still waiting. Now we go by a different last name. Is that gonna matter? Do I have to have the same name? Also, we have a senior that is in our household. She doesn't even know how to get into an email, what it is. And I'm trying to help her. And I do agree with the other young lady. You need to maybe set something up in the senior centers where the senior citizens can go. You're assuming that they have all the technology that they need to do this. They don't. Some don't even have family members. You need some kind of assistance for them that they can go to. The senior center is what I would recommend, that they can do that. I could only help so much, but you know, she needs a little bit more help. And that's what I have to say.
Thank you, Doris. Anyone else?
Darius Shaffron, 47 Semel Avenue. Just on this registration of our vehicles, up until now, I was able to.
I'm sorry, Darius, what's your last name?
Shaffron, S-Z-A-F-R-A.
S-Z, I'm
Up
sorry.
until now, I was able to park
S-Z-F-A-R-O.
a limousine, so
A-R,
only by plate, it's a normal
S-Z.
sedan. In Garfield, the company allows me to keep the car. Right now, with this rule, that's $1,825 that I'm gonna have to dish out to park that car annually in this town. That, or at 50 miles to a daily commute by going up just north of Mall to pick up and drop off the car every day. Okay? My grandparents, my parents, if they visit every weekend and stay for 2 nights, that's an extra $500. This sounds like an awful lot of taxation hidden in the fee. A fee that for 1.5 years, not one person in this building discussed until you implemented the rule. That's when the fees came. Okay? So you hid them till the very end, And now you opened up this big surprise, and the police department's pointing at somebody else. The ladies downstairs are pointing at somebody else. Nobody knows where the fee came from. But somehow here it is, and I'm supposed to dish out what? $2,500 a year? On top of the $5,000 I already pay in taxes? Second item, you've used tax dollars to put parking lots on River Road around the area of Semel Avenue. For a while, they were open for use. Now, you can't park there overnight, even if you're a resident. You can't park there more than 2 hours during the day, even if you're a resident. So what's the reason for it? Especially those blocks. Semel, from Jewel to River, is a two-way street. On a daily basis, somebody's car gets hit. I would much rather park in that lot and know my car's not gonna be damaged. And every time I bring it up, and I've spoken to a few of you, all I get is the shoulder shrug. Same thing with the police department. I suggested, make it a one-way. Well, we don't know. I said, eliminate parking on one side of the street, let residents from that block park down in the parking lot. Every solution doesn't seem to be good enough because the city doesn't have to pay for the damage on the cars. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to come up? I see no hands. I'm sorry. What's he saying about his car?
Yeah, Mike Denstran, 104 Palisade Ave. I want to speak for the senior citizens, all the senior citizens in Garfield. I'd like to know if we're grandfathered in and still come to City Hall and do our paperwork. Because a lot of us don't have computers. I have a friend that has a computer, but I'm not a computer person. I'm 74. I just want to know if I can still go to City Hall and renew my parking stickers at City Hall with any senior citizen that may not have one also, a computer. Another thing too, a lot of problems with teachers parking on the street. I live right in front of number 6 school. And during the day, the teachers park on the street. They have 42 spots in the back. A lot of times they prefer walking straight into the school. I talked to the Board of Ed. They haven't done anything about it. And I'd like to know if the city can get back to the Board of Ed to try to contain most of the teachers to go into the lot rather than park on the street. The mothers need to pull up to the school and let their student off to the school. And even a business on a corner needs some parking also. That's another question. If you can get those people to try to park in their lot, they're authorized to park in the lot. I can't park on the school property, but they can. But quite a few of them run late. They run into the school last minute, and they take up the city park. And I think it happens at other schools too. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Danshire.
Okay. But it's the senior citizens going to be grandfathered in. Can we have that too?
We'll discuss it.
See,
We'll discuss it.
with what?
We'll discuss the senior citizens.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Sir?
Good evening, council. My name is Tino Ranieri from Glen Rock, New Jersey. I'm here about the parking situation. I think it needs to be tweeted. I could see you charging $10 a month. I mean, every 2 years for the parking, for the system to work properly. But the $5 a night is a little steep. I had suggested maybe on a weekend from Saturday night to maybe Monday morning, parking would be free. I have a caretaker at my mom's house. I'd like to know where this caretaker is going to park. She's not registered in Garfield, of course not. And there's other issues with this. I mean, I come over to, sometimes my sister, myself, my brother, we come over to take care of her because she gets dizzy spells. I don't want to start calling the police station or start paying $5 to take care of my mother. I mean, I can't register the car at her house. And it's a little, you know, it's sad that you have to take $5 from everybody. I mean, I guess the salary in Garfield is about what, $45,000 a year? Most people make $45,000 a year in Garfield. And you know, $5 here, $10 here. Then the fines. I mean, I saw the fines are up to $2,000. They're up to $2,000 to take your garbage out early.
Tino,
Come on, guys.
Tino, we're talking
That's a
about,
lot.
we're talking about the parking. Okay.
Correct, all right, but it's still $2,000. I mean, fine, put something down saying you park in the street at night and you screw up, $29, $39. Just like parking on a sweep cleaning day. So, that's basically it. I just feel that people need a little fair shake at this. Nobody's making $100,000 here. They're making 50. I have tenants. They're not making $100,000. I don't even raise the rents. I had a tenant for 40 years. 40 years. When she passed away a year ago, she was paying $550 a month. We couldn't raise her rent because she didn't have the money. But what were we supposed to do? Throw her out? So I'd like you guys to be a little considerate. Think about the $5. Maybe on the weekends, let it be free so the boyfriends, the girlfriends could come. They could spend time with their loved ones without worrying about paying this fee. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Ron Shuck, 14 Lee Street. Just a quick suggestion, I was actually just talking to Lisa right here. Maybe with that $10 program where you have to register your cars, you can also issue maybe for an extra $5, you get a permanent parking pass, you could say, like a pool pass, for example, that that a family can then issue to a family member coming up, where they wouldn't get a ticket. Like her son is coming from New York for 30 days, he can then use that temporary parking pass for the month, register to her house, and when he leaves, he can give her the pass back. That way you're not charging $5 every night for family. My family's in North Carolina. I call them family. My buddy's going to Hawaii, North Carolina, Germany. They're gonna pay $5 every time they visit me per day. That's a little excessive. So that pass right there, let's say $5, you put in your car. The household one, if she wants to be responsible for 5 passes, that's still $25. But she is responsible for those passes. And when that vehicle leaves, she gets her pass back. I mean, that could be a simple solution that kind of mitigates the cost for the family, as well as restricts the illegal tenants in the house, because it's on that occupant, that landlord, or persons that are in the house to be responsible for the vehicles. That's it.
Thank you, Ron. Anyone else? I see no hands. I'll open it up to council comments. Councilman Aloya.
To go through as many issues as I can and not keep everybody here all night, because I'm sure every council person wants to speak also. With regard to the hero parking, I'd love to see what the ordinance is. With regard to, I want to start with Scott. He brought up a very valid point. That's the exact reason why this ordinance needs to be in place. Most of the people that were here, if you listen to what you said, you actually justify the existence of the ordinance. Veronica, I think what your son is doing is wonderful. But all he has to do is switch driveways for 2 weeks. Put his car in the driveway for 2 weeks. I think the pass that you said was a wonderful idea. Except what do we do with the thousands of fraudulent passes that have already been fabricated by people for the present ordinance? That's how many. We find them, they're photocopying on computers. They're making fake passes. So having that pass, what's the price of that? With regard to the phone calls to the police station, we receive thousands of calls from people who say, oh, I need a courtesy. I need a courtesy. You know how much money you spend to answer those phone calls? Thousands of phone calls get answered at the police station. We have to hire people to answer the phone just to deal with all of the people calling up for courtesy calls. All of these issues are compounded that brought the existence of this. What we discussed with senior citizens, we've already discussed that. We said possibly bringing the police department to the library every other Saturday or something of that nature for those people that need the ability to get assistance in putting together a program. But we almost have to do it paperlessly because there are a lot of bad people out there stealing. All of those commercial vehicles that we have, those are the issues that we're dealing with. I mean, where's the gentleman Darius with the limousine? I understand that he's operating his business and putting it on the street. So what do you do if everybody on your street becomes an Uber driver? They're all commercial vehicles. You're never gonna find a place to park. You're never gonna find a place to park. Darius, I didn't speak when you spoke, please don't speak when I speak. But if you're gonna put limousines, because we have that issue, on every street, what do? Those are the issues that we're trying to deal with. We're trying to do it that saves us all the expense and the inability to do it. With regard to Tino, I understand what you're saying, Tino, with regard to caregivers and things like that. Saturday, library, police, discuss these individual issues. There will always be the exceptions to the rule, but we've got day parking, not enough day parking. We heard that about all the teachers parking. Who do you select to put in the park to park? I don't agree with taking a businessman who's got a car dealership and saying that if I pull up my car and say, here, change the oil on my car, I'm actually in violation. So that's why I vote against an ordinance that does that. But at the same token, these are the issues that we have worked hard and long to come up with the solution. It's not that we want you to have 5 cars, it's that we're saying, okay, $1 a car. That's not unreasonable for us to manage a program that says if you're a car person, it's an issue. For those people that are without vehicles, okay, we understand that. But then the thousands of dollars that we've spent on all of our behalfs to manage the thousands of phone calls asking for fraudulent courtesies, asking for illegal parking, we're trying to clear the street so you have a place to park. We're telling the commercial guys, look, there's trucks that I pass every morning at 6 o'clock that are on the street with trailers attached. They're the homeowner probably, or the tenant there probably, but they're taking up 10 parking spaces. That's hard for us to deal with. We have a lot of houses on my block alone where I reside have no driveway. And then my next door neighbor who's got a garage has got his garage packed to the door. And I'm saying, come on, use your garage. It'll take another car off the street. But we can't do that. We can't go there. We can't do that. But we're saying, look, we can't afford not to do that. I think this does just the opposite. It says, look, this is a city that cares. This is a city that cares about what the street parking looks like, what's going on the street. We got a whole lecture tonight about crime from some people that came to our other meeting. Well, you know what? We have vehicles now that are gonna read your license plate every night from 3 to 6. If you're gonna do something bad in our town, we have a system now to make you safer. I have it on my phone. I'll be glad to show anyone that wants to see it. I have an address of a house that lives in this town that calls me every week, and I call the police station. It's been on my calendar for years about the illegal activity going on. But now we have an apparatus, we have the personnel, we have the intelligence to monitor and do what we could never do before. Does it cost us money? Yeah, it costs us money. If you want to live in a safe town, get a cop on every corner. I said that tonight. Guess what? It's a whole lot more expensive than $5. We could never live in that town. None of us could afford to live in that type of a community. We spend 1/3 of our municipal budget keeping ourselves safe. $10 million out of the $30 million. I think we are all worth it. I think the price of the people that don't care, that exploit the system, they should pay the $5. Maybe we should actually charge them more. I'm sorry, but that's my personal opinion. Because guess what? They're exploiting the system. They're putting people in the basement, they're putting people in the attic, they're putting people where they shouldn't, and they're collecting rents, a whole lot more than $500. And then when you send the police to that house, when you send the fire department to that house, it's costing you thousands of dollars. When you have that phone ringing 26,000 times a year answering, I'd like a courtesy. Courtesies are hard to give out. I work on the weekends, so I want to go see my friend on Monday and Tuesday. So a weekend pass doesn't do me any good. I want a Monday, Tuesday pass. It gets so convoluted. There's just no way of just having a simple. Are we sometimes wrong? I'm sometimes a lot wrong. But that's not the issue. The issue is how do we make it the most right? I think there's a lot of personal issues that are here that should be dealt with on a Saturday with the police department because they do an outstanding job of doing the best they can do in the circumstance of an older community that has to be put back together. But trust me, the expense of what we're doing is a whole lot less than when you call 911 and you don't get an answer, or your phone gets diverted to some other place or some other community because somebody else calls 911, ridiculously so, to say, oh, I'd like a parking courtesy this evening. You're using the 911 line for that? And then somebody else is like trying to call the police for a real emergency. They do it. They do it. Thank God not a lot, but they do it. So how do we mitigate these things? We have to assume the responsibility of it. Back in 97, maybe, Lodi came up with this plan, and you could have driven up Harrison Avenue, which is half Lodi, half Garfield. Lodi side had no cars on it. Garfield was overpacked with vehicles. We had to come up with a program that says, look, we got to balance the community. There's just no other way of doing it. And we never thought people were going to exploit the present system as they've done. We never thought they would be photocopying bogus passes and taping them on their window. Really? But we never thought that half the people were living in attics and basements. And that's not a good enough reason. That's just the better side effect of it all. The best reason is Scott deserves to be parked in front of his house. And if there's 75 cars and 75 people living on that block and parking on that car, parking on that street, he deserves the right. If you listen to some of us that were up here at some of the citizens that were up here at the mic, they were actually in contradiction to those that criticized the program. It's there. It already exists. It's hard to balance. The lady's got a son in the service. How do we satisfy that need? But we can't just sit there and not deal with it. Got to go to the library, got to speak to the police. We have to come up with a solution for exceptions. But at the same token, we have a lot of people that don't want to give up their driveways or don't use their garages or don't let their tenants use their driveway and charge them good rents. There's a lot more of those, unfortunately, than the good ones that are complicated, that have complicated issues. But we brought up municipal parking lots tonight in the work session room. We brought up the fact that we need to have those people that are nervous with using computers or feel apprehensive, that we have a venue where we get them to meet with the police and spend time at the library, few hours, maybe every other Saturday, and get them registered, get them on the program, and with the exceptions that have to be, that we never saw coming, address those respectfully, not just arbitrarily. But you know what I said to the police when I first spoke about it? All the bad people, they'll never show up at the library, because they're not gonna wanna meet a cop and admit that they're living in a basement or an attic. So maybe kudos to the police department once again. Thank you, Mayor, for letting me speak.
Thank you, Lou. Councilman Calangelo.
Yes, these are the facts. We have a community that is growing. And, you know, it was said by someone at the microphone, well, we allowed for something to be built. It's actually, the city, the council, do not do that. That's zoning boards, planning boards, and even redevelopment. And these are things that have to be done the right way. Parking is something that every time when I was the mayor and I was on the planning board, we got to worry about the parking spots. We talk about quality of life. Well, there's no quality of life when you got to live your life being able to park near your home, or worry about a senior that needs to park by their home. We do have handicap parking spots that you could apply for seniors or for anyone that's handicapped, and those are things that are available. The ordinance, the history of the ordinance, and Louis hit on a lot of these things, this started many years ago. We copied Lodi, we copied Clifton. Illegal apartments were everywhere. This was one way of trying to track them, trying to prosecute the landlords so that, we could throw all the books away, all the rules away. You'll see this town will get worse by every month, because then we can't control anything. When this ordinance was discussed, we had Michael Marsh, and he's here, working on this, and we tried going to different towns, copying what they were doing right, what they were doing wrong. My argument, and I argued this to the council, I felt we should not charge. And the reason why I had a problem with that is, number one, we were doing it for nothing. It was, when you look at the court revenue on an annual basis of illegal apartments, the city, the judge, they fine these illegal landlords a lot of money. The court revenue is there. The $55 a ticket for those that don't have permission or the passes to park. The revenue is there. Now we're going to relieve a police officer of the responsibility, and our police officers, they have more important things to do than being a parking patrolman. They fight crime at night, and between 3 and 6, I think there's more important things that they should do. We are going to have a part-time person making an hourly wage go and ticket these vehicles, which saves the city money. So I think the problem is the fees that we're charging, because I'm fortunate, I have a driveway. So bottom line is, if I have relatives visiting, I can maneuver the cars around so they could park in my driveway, and I could park my car, which is registered, on the street. There's a lot of people that don't have a driveway. There's a lot of people that, to have, number one, you're paying decent rent. When you check the rents in this town, and sir, you were very gracious to your tenant back there, but I check Zillow, I see what the rents are. They're not cheap, and to not be fair to everyone. So if you don't have a driveway, you got to pay daily for a guest. To me, that was not fair. I will tell you this, because of I was out, I didn't get the support to eliminate the fees or even reduce the fees, but I did support the ordinance, because the ordinance is something that the city does need. It's something that we have to at least understand what's going on in our community. We just can't open up and have basements in the attic, basements apartments in the attic, in the basement, because then our town will have no quality of life. So if the council is willing to re-look at the fee aspect, maybe there's a middle line. If there's a household fee, fine. But for the guests that you need the sticker for per day, I think that's excessive, and I think it's unfair to those that don't have the same opportunity that everyone else does. As far as the ordinance, I heard about that the chief, the fire chief, and they're the ones asking for this. Well, if that's the case, they should come to our council meeting. Not say it to a committee but say it to us. That's the first time I heard the chief asking for this, building inspectors asking for certain things. And then, and in my mind too, we're going after an industry. What about other industries that there are problems? The one gentleman came up to the microphone and said he opened information for the last 6 months. There were 17 complaints and only about 4 that was related to what we're trying to correct. And 4 of them were for the same business. So if you got one business that's violating, and the time that was stated was that it was 8:30 at night, not 11:30. Do I believe Mr. Delaney that there was a 11:30 time? Yes. I don't think he's going to make that up. But if that's one instance, or if that problem has been corrected, why are we gearing and going after one particular industry when I see trailers on Midland Avenue parked where a gas station is, that is, here we're worried about how things look and how the quality of life, and we're not worried about those things. There's a lot here. There's issues that the lawyer represented. So just to have a knee-jerk reaction, and this has been going on probably for 6 months, and it's never gotten right, never been done right. I see these same gentlemen here numerous times. It's like the city the gang that couldn't shoot straight. It's just, it can't get it right. And for that, I don't know, it may help certain people, and for that's fantastic. But the bad business owners, those are the ones we need to really put in their place. And that's how I see this all. And I just think that, and quite honestly, there's some things I'm not even sure are enforceable, if challenged in court. There's things in there that, why are we restricting one business, how long you can work, when other businesses aren't? So, there's a lot of issues there. I'm going to take my, the time, and I had prepared a whole list of things, but I'm going to narrow it down to one. At the last meeting, there was a lot of discussion. And with the discussion, we're allowed to speak, and then after we're done, things are said, names are mentioned, and we never have an opportunity to answer, staying with the proper procedure of the meeting. We talked about Cablevision. And after sending countless emails, we are now able to view our meetings on Verizon in a successful manner. The city is working on getting Cablevision or Optimum feed in City Hall to be aired on a successful manner. And if it were left up to the mayor, who said that meetings, by his own admission, meetings weren't be able to be filmed in the summertime by students. The argument was students as opposed to a professional. By the deputy mayor's own admittance, that the sound wasn't good. Well, guess what? Why film and go through the whole motion if people can't put on channel 46 or whatever station and hear what's being said up here? It's almost idiotic, in my opinion, if we're going to do it that manner. So we finally have gotten it right on channel 46, Verizon. The gentleman does a fantastic job. It's audible. It's on all the time. Cablevision is the problem. We have channel 77. It's owned by the high school. We can't get our new meetings on there, no matter what the problem is, but that's not happening. And also, we talked about Columbus, the Green Acres grants for Columbus Field. And as far as the mayor's statement, saying that I sat up here with experience for 20 years, and yet nothing was done at Columbus Field. For those that don't know, Columbus Field is the one that was up for redevelopment, of which condos and were going to be built there for 2 acres of it. And for the mayor's knowledge, there were improvements there. Back when Mr. Eloy was the mayor, we put lights there. It was a $180,000 grant that we received, and there was improvements. Not to mention the millions of dollars that went into restoring our well. On that corner is well 1A. On that corner, it was the best producing well in the city of Garfield. The water had gotten contaminated. We now have that well up and running after spending a lot of money, and it's beneficial to the city of Garfield. It was one of our most productive wells. These are things, and I'm happy to say too, now that the field is still there, Babe Ruth is coming back. The field is not sold to a developer. So good things are happening there. There was one other thing we talked about. I had challenged why we paid middle school coaches $2,000 out of city funds when they have their budget is $104 million, which is more than triple what we, the city, have. And with that being said, and just so you know, I have been coaching as a volunteer children for over 30 years. So I'm always pro-children. But my question was procedurally, how do we pay coaches from a middle school when they're employees for the Board of Ed? Not to mention that the fact of Mr. Lawyer and myself having no knowledge of it. So it was said, well, you know what? It was talked about at the meeting. No, it wasn't talked about at the meeting, because I asked Mr. Pavlicka about, give me the minutes when it was discussed as a board. It wasn't done like that. There's no discussions on record. There was no resolution. Usually when the city does something, the city manager will protect himself, protect the city, put a resolution on the floor, discuss it, and say, look, this is what we're going to do, but I want you guys to vote on it. There was no resolution supporting this. And if you're going to do something like this, there has to be 3 council people that are willing to appropriate the funds. So if these 2 don't know about it, and the mayor, because it's the middle school, is conflicted, how does it get done? And Mr. Dutch, did you, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I have to ask you this question, because you were asked the question, can a department head spend money in his budget for different things? And you said yes, and I agree with that. But can a department head hire, because those people were paid through payroll, with deductions taken out and W-2s given, can a department head establish, or hire first of all, and can they establish what the salaries are? Or is that your job?
All right, this has been brought up meeting after meeting.
Right, because I don't never get the answers.
So I have to respond. On September 11th, my brother collapsed. On September 12th, this was discussed or brought up or mentioned at a council meeting.
And there's no record of it.
That's
There's no record
my
of it.
conversation with Mr. Pavlicka,
He
okay?
has
Mr.
no minutes of
Rigatano,
it.
Mr.
You asked the
Rigatano,
question.
if I can finish.
Yeah, but that's not the
Mr.
question I asked
Rigatano
him.
was at the last 2 meetings so that he could discuss this, because Mr. Rigatano approved this. You know that. You have that information, okay? Mr. Rigatano is not here this evening. Mr. Rigatano will answer you at the next council meeting.
Mr. Rigatano has answered.
Mr. Rigatano will answer you at the next council meeting. Mayor, I'm done. It was
All
a
right.
tragic time in my life. I am done.
Mr. Dutch, I agree it's a tragic time in your life, but I'm just asking the simple question. Can a department head hire?
He answered the question, Frank.
No, he didn't.
Can we move on to
He
the
did
next
not
question?
answer my question. See, that's why I keep bringing this up, because I never get a straight answer.
Oh, my God.
The question is, Mr. Attorney, in our form of government, can a department head hire and establish salaries? And that's the question I asked. I'm not blaming anybody, Tom. I'm not blaming you. But I'm just trying to get procedurally how something like this was done without the full council even knowing about it.
Mr. Calandrillo, Mr. Rigatano sent you an email directly. Mr. Rigatano answered you
No,
directly.
he did not.
The clerk answered you directly.
But that's-
If the answers are insufficient to you, you need to speak to the people who provided the answers
No,
to
but
you.
that's not what I'm
okay?
asking.
all
Mr.
responsibility. I take responsibility for a $40 million budget. I approve everything.
But the question I've always understood our form of government.
Frank, he answered your question.
No, but Mayor.
He said
All right,
Roy
I'm
has the
not
question.
asking him a question no more. I'm
Thank you.
giving my facts. I have sent numerous emails to the CFO. The CFO just showed me the manner of which they were paid. But the question I have, was this done in a legal manner? Because the way I've always understood our form of government, the city manager is the only one is allowed to hire, and the council has to appropriate the funds. So what I'm saying is to throw the recreation director under the bus. That's not the right, I'm not trying to do that. I'm just trying to see administratively if this mayor and council did things the proper way. And every time I ask a question, it's like I'm the bad guy. And I have talked to Roy. Roy showed me that they did get paid. They got paid by taking taxes and W-2s. So that tells me they're employees. So who hires employees? A department head can't. When Mr. Garofalo needed summer help, they had to come to the council and the city manager hired. So that's the point I'm trying to make. But we could say.
Okay, Frank, you
and
made your
could cut
point.
me
Can we
off all
move
you
on to
want,
something
Mayor.
else, please?
You can cut me off all you want, Mayor, but the bottom line is, the answers are not being given. And Mayor, you mentioned too, you want to keep moving forward, and that there's infighting, and I am all about moving forward, Mayor, but I'm all about transparency. And when all 5 council people aren't included in items, and all of a sudden we get finding out things only because you, at a year later, mentioned something, you're not working with 5 council people, and you're working with 3. And you know what? You're a coach, I'm a coach. I've never seen a basketball team successful when they play 3 players on the court. All right? So if the information is given to all of us, and there's no million-dollar surprises, then I agree. But if I'm not going to be treated with the respect of being a council person, then guess what? I'm going to raise the issues, I'm going to send emails, because I know I'm right. I know I'm right on this. We could pass the buck all we want. But the bottom line is, it's taxpayer money. We could call it nickels and dimes, as you did last meeting. No, it's not nickels and dimes. It's taxpayer money. We're charging people $5 for overnight sticker. That's nickels and dimes. So, anyway, thank you very much for listening.
Oh, my God. Deputy Mayor.
All right, first, just with the repair shop ordinance, we have been speaking about this for 6 months, longer than 6 months, and that the council is well aware that it's been input from the chief, the fire department, property maintenance, because it's discussed at every single meeting. Every time we bring up this ordinance, it's always discussed that the property maintenance brought it to us, the police chief, so it's not like, we should know about it. We've had a quality of life meeting, Ms. Calzoli, you did attend the first quality of life meeting, but you haven't attended since that.
No,
I don't know
You
why.
can't have 3.
Tom, I'm not gonna.
It's Joe's turn.
No, you
Deputy
only
Mayor.
have 2, and I was not on that committee. And I was there for a water meeting.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Delaney, so please tell the truth to the public. And I won't have to correct things the next.
So, and we're not just picking on this business. In May, we passed an ordinance to limit the hours of laundromats, which was voted on by the entire council. So it's not like we're just picking on the car repair shops. We did pass an ordinance in May to limit the hours of laundromats. So it's not something new that we're doing. We were trying to actually, just the quality of life in the city. The reason why we put out the garbage, we stopped the garbage from being out early because the garbage was blowing all over the street. That's the reason. I don't, we're not here to hurt people. We're here just to help the city look better. You know, it was mentioned how come, what's going back to the parking stickers. Why don't we no longer have people parking in the parks on River Drive? Because the auto repair shops on River Drive were putting their cars all day there. It's not right to the residents who live in that neighborhood to have the auto repair shops and other businesses parking their cars in those lots. So that's why we had to stop it. The only reason, not to infringe anybody, you know, from that live on Semel Ave or anywhere, but it was being abused by certain businesses in town. With going back to the stickers also, you know, the main reason why we brought up this whole change of the parking sticker was I thought it would actually benefit the people. So they could actually register their car on a computer instead of having to take a day off from work and coming down to City Hall. How many times have I heard people tell me, you know, I got to take a day off from work to go register my car? Now we're making it where they can register on a computer. And anybody who doesn't know how to use a computer, there's going to be flaws. You know, with say you drive well, I didn't want to get into it, but there's exceptions, definitely. And that'll all be worked out. It'll all be worked out. We're going to have sessions, hopefully at the library, where anybody could go down, talk with a police officer, talk to somebody for hours on a Saturday, and get explained exactly, you know, what the situation is, and they'll look at that situation and see how can we fix it. All right? It's not just going to be gung-ho. You know, the main reason, another reason was for, Robert, you mentioned illegal apartments. And that was why the whole sticker program was put into effect, was for illegal apartments. A few months back, we had a murder that involved an illegal apartment. You know, so I don't want to get, but that's what comes out of illegal apartments, not good things. We have fires in illegal apartments. I mean, it's putting a burden on our schools. But that's the main reason for the parking sticker program. It's not to make money. We don't want to nickel and dime nobody. It's just another thing for the quality of life. You know, so, and as far as the $10 for the 2 years, I mean, I don't think that's really a big deal. But you know what? And then maybe if everything's caught up after that, maybe 2 years from now, you know, you could drop the $10. But there's all different things that we could do. All right, so I'm just putting it out there. Don't, you know, just work with us, work with the police department. And it's not like we're trying to hurt anybody. We're trying to just to make the city a better place. And parking is a big issue in town. It's a big issue. Tom, in the work session, you brought up a number of things our rec department is doing. Do you have that list on you right now? I like to give some positive news at council meetings. I mean, and this is really great what we have our recreation department doing. Oh, you sound much better when you read it, Tom. I'm not a good reader. I'm a good ad-libber.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. I'm happy to report on behalf of the Recreation Director the following developments. Recreation basketball has concluded with the awards night to be held on March 26th. We will have our first farmers market with Generations for Garfield. It'll be held on March 27th at 1 p.m. at the Rec Center. Spring classes at the Rec Center this year will include tennis, golf, lacrosse, floor hockey, youth electrical engineering, not everybody's an athlete, junior chemical engineering, open gym with basketball and soccer. Next, meeting with prospective instructors to offer ballet and taekwondo classes for Saturdays, pending our approval. I asked the mayor and council for approval tonight and got it. Easter egg hunt, 10 a.m., April 13th, for free. Anyone who wants to stay after that, breakfast will be offered at the Recreation Center. Breakfast with the Easter Bunny, $10 a person or $25 a family. Recreation Spring Soccer will begin next month on Tuesdays and Fridays. There will be free clinics that will be run by the Vistula Soccer Club coaches. We have an amazing soccer league right in town. They're going to help us for free because we provide fields to them. Spring Sports Opening Day Parade, the date to be arranged. It'll go from the Recreation Center to 20th Century Field. We're looking to do that in April. And finally, the Parks and Playgrounds. Our new rec director went and became a certified inspector so that we can do our annual inspections ourselves at no additional cost. And that'll be done, that'll be inspected by him and our DPW Superintendent, Sam Garofalo, and that report will be delivered to our joint insurance fund. Our joint insurance fund is how our rating is established. So as long as we show that we're looking after our playground equipment and taking care of it, that'll be a positive for our insurance rating. We sorely need a positive for our insurance rating. So that's the update from our Recreation Director, Chris O'Reilly. I want to thank him for his work.
See, so we do discuss things in work sessions. Maybe we forget it a month or so down the line, but we do discuss, and we are very transparent. We are very transparent. I had the pleasure of visiting St. Joe's Mount Virgin dinner, the St. Joe's dinner at Mount Virgin, and I tell you, it was a great night. Fantastic night. There was, I think, the biggest crowd ever. It was the 25th year of them doing the St. Joe's dinner. It was a fun time had it all. Also, just to mention, this Thursday night, we have the YMCA Comedy Show at the Royal Manor, I believe.
You're correct.
Right? And we also have a lot of dinners going up. I know we have the Roger Heddle dinner coming up that we're selling tickets for. Very important night, very great guy that we're going to be honoring, and it's for a scholarship. It's a great time. With that, the only thing I just have to say is to everybody, whether you're Irish or you're not Irish, you know, may the blessed St. Patrick hold his hand down over your head and keep us all safe. Happy St. Patty's Day to everybody.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Okay, you know, with the parking permits, it's about the quality of life issues. You know, our police, they get numerous phone calls between 300 to 500 a day just for courtesy. You know, like Councilman Aloya said, you know, it just ties up our lines. So it's about the quality of life. You know, the residents came up here complaining about there's no parking. There's no parking on Passaic Street. My neighbor, who has a 6-car parking lot, he parks his cars on the street, leaves his lot open. Well, now this is going to either force him to park in his driveway, and that's going to open up 6 spots. It happens. This is how we have to go. We're talking about this antiquated way where you came to City Hall during 9 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon, or taking a day off, getting a sticker, sticking it to your car. You know, this is not how you do it. Guttenberg, West New York, this is where we got our plan from. These are towns like us, the same diversity, the same social economical background. They charge a lot more than $5. $5, you know, I understand it. It could be a burden to some, but for most, from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m., you know, they got to find a spot or they got to pay after, you know, the grace period. You know, our police put hours, numerous amount of time, 2 years into this. They've researched it. This is a fee that is very reasonable for our class of citizens here, you know, and it's about the quality of life, about moving forward. You know, the $10 for a household, no matter how many cars you have for 2 years, you know, it's just what we researched and it's what we found out, and this is what we all agreed upon. You know, are there going to be some, you know, expectations? Yeah. Are there going to be some, you know, it's a work in progress. We're going to tweak it, we'll fix it, and we'll move on. You know, this is not a foolproof plan. Just like when we talked to the people from the other municipalities, they had issues when they first started out, but it all worked out, and they've been running these programs for a long time. This is nothing new. You know, I have a friend who lives in Montclair. She pays $68 a month to park in the street, and she only has a 5-block radius where she parks. You know, so, you know, there's other municipalities who are like us. Lodi and Wallington are going to follow us. So it's happening. You know, the old ways of just getting a marker and a piece of paper with a little stick and sticking it on your window, that's done. You know, unfortunately, you know, it's the change and it's tough, and the seniors, we'll work with the seniors. We've discussed it in the work session. We're not here to jam anybody up. We're not here to make people uncomfortable. We're here to work with people. The police have been working with everybody, and, you know, we're hoping to find some middle ground with some situations that have arisen, and were discussed even here today. I'm hoping to find some of those situations. So, you know, it's a good plan, and it's time that we start moving forward, and it's going to help us out. The illegal apartments is killing us. These people who park on the street all night, you know, the residents call up, and this car's been parked here for, you know, all night. You drive by, and the person is not even a resident. They got a girlfriend or boyfriend who's been spending 4 or 5 nights a week there. You know, move in. I hate to say it. You know, I'm not going to be politically correct here. If you're spending 4 or 5 nights a week with your girlfriend or boyfriend at that place, you're a resident. That's just how it is. And if you can't afford the $5 for your girlfriend or boyfriend to live there, to park there, then you know what? Have them move in. Too bad. That's worth the call. All right? You know, that's one of the biggest complaints I get. My girlfriend stays with me 6 nights a week. 6 nights a week. That's a resident to me. So, you know, it's something that needs to be addressed, and we'll be moving on. Kevin, I won't be here on the 26th. The Columbus rendition of the fields and everything like that. If we could hold off until the 9th, I would appreciate that. Thank you. You know, Frank, you talked about the Columbus field and everything, and you know, we're on the same plan. We're on the same page here. We want Columbus Field developed. You just wanted it to be done yesterday. Well, we want a plan. And, you know, it hasn't been used properly in the last few years. If we didn't bring it up recently, you know, this field would have still been sitting there empty. So, you know what? We're on the same page now. So there's no need to, you know, rehash this stuff. We just got to get a plan. And we all agreed on the plan in the last work session. So we're moving forward. You know, I need to talk about, you know, this $2,000 that Frank was, Councilman was talking about. And, you know, it's a shame that when you try to do something positive, it just keeps getting brought back that we were trying to do something wrong. You know, middle school, they were cutting a couple of sports, and, you know, the rec director was nice enough to see fit to it that to keep the sports, to keep the kids engaged, as opposed to them just going home and doing nothing. You know, yeah, it's $2,000, or maybe even a little less than that, maybe $1,800, $1,900. I don't know the exact number, but you make it seem like, you know, there was some kind of illegal stuff going on here, Frank, and there was nothing illegal going on there. You knew what was going on, and you didn't say anything, and now you're saying something, and you're standing on your soapbox preaching for the last half.
No.
Frank, I'm talking now. I didn't interrupt you, Frank.
Don't
All
put
right,
words in
but
my
you're
mouth,
staying on
No,
you're standing on your soapbox, Frank,
I have
preaching
no idea what
preaching
you
to the
guys are
world that we did something illegal over here, Frank.
I'm asking
and,
questions.
and you're browbeating everybody. You're
Hey,
trying to
I'm asking
intimidate people,
questions.
and it's not going to
I'm
work,
asking
Frank.
questions.
You
I don't
asking
get
questions,
answers.
and you always get the answer, but you don't get the answer you like.
Don't
So you're
put
always
words-
looking for another answer,
Don't put
Frank.
words in my mouth.
Meeting adjourned. Have a good St. Patty's Day.